hopes of a diplomatic agreement to end days of fighting in the city of Goma in the Democratic Republic of Congo between government forces and Rwanda-backed rebels. Officials in Kenya say the presidents of Rwanda and the DRC have agreed to a meeting on Wednesday. CNN Summer Adelaziz has details.
This is what it sounded like in Goma. Heavy gunfire ringing out as soldiers from the National Army tried to fight off an assault by M23 rebels. They seem to have failed, and the Rwanda-backed M23 group claims it seized control of the eastern Congo's largest city after driving out government troops, forcing thousands to flee, families unsure of where to find safety. In the chaos, inmates broke free from a local prison. Fighting between the Rwanda-backed rebels and the Army of the Democratic Republic of Congo had ramped up significantly in recent days. The UN warning that the violence has already displaced some 400,000 people in the region since the beginning of the year. Some have been forced out of their homes more than once.
We fled the war, gunshots and bombs, and now we are here. We don't know where to flee to. We've no shelter or place to spend the night. We're outside, uncertain of our fate.
During a lightning offensive, the M23 group grabbed territory, then set its eyes on Goma. The city, which sits on the border with Rwanda, was last held by the M23 group in 2012 during similar clashes between rebels and government forces. At least a dozen peacekeepers from the UN and other international forces were killed in recent fighting. In response, the UN says it is temporarily relocating non-essential staff out of the area. Hospitals are overwhelmed, and emergency tents have been set up to treat the wounded, some who narrowly escaped death.
We packed our bags, took our children, and left. When we reached the checkpoint, a bomb fell on us. I was thrown backward in the direction I had come from. I still had my baby on my back, and my belongings were next to me, but everyone around me was dead.
International groups warn that the violence could escalate into a wider regional conflict. The DRC recently severed diplomatic ties with Rwanda, which it says funds and supports M23 rebels. Rwanda denies this, but says it does have troops and missile systems in the eastern DRC for its own security. The UN has condemned the M23's advance with the support of Rwandan forces and is urging the group to withdraw. A plea for calm so far unheard as thousands caught in the crossfire desperately seek safety and relief. Salma Abdulaziz, CNN, London.
Cameron Hudson joins me now. He's a senior fellow for the Africa program at the Centre for Strategic and International Studies. Cameron, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So right now, it's not entirely clear which side controls the city of Goma, which seems to be the target of intense ongoing fighting between the Rwanda-backed rebels and Congolese government forces. Here's a report on the latest situation there. Listen to this.
As we speak, bombs are falling on hospitals, and the population is terrorized because the aim is clearly to sow terror. Yesterday, bombs were already falling on displaced persons' camps. That is why we want to urge all the people of Goma to stay sheltered, stay home.
So what are the consequences here for both sides if the city does in fact come under control of the M23 rebels?
Well, it wouldn't be the first time the M23 rebels have taken the whole control of Goma. They did so a little over 10 years ago, and we saw massive displacement. We saw millions of people fleeing the city. The city of Goma in eastern Congo is a safe haven, largely from the instability and violence of militia groups that have been present in eastern Congo for many decades now. And so you have many internally displaced, hundreds of thousands of internally displaced people's camps. And so you see those camps start to empty, people start to flee. So you could have a huge displacement crisis on top of an unfolding humanitarian and warlike scenario.
In the big picture here, though, this area, this part of Congo has seen conflict, as you mentioned, for many, many years. What has been fueling that conflict, and what has got us to this point that we're at now?
Well, the origin for the conflict and instability in Eastern Congo really dates back 30 years to the Rwandan genocide. And the perpetrators of that genocide, Hutu militiamen, fled into Eastern Congo, just over the border into a safe haven area. And they used that safe haven in Eastern Congo to continue to launch attacks against the Tutsi army of Rwanda. Rwanda, since that time, has been trying to push back against these Hutu militias. And has increasingly used and relied upon their own proxy militias. And it's this proxy militia, the M23, backed by the Rwandan government, which has been pushing deeper and deeper into Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, trying to push back the militia groups and now even the armed forces of the Congo to create essentially a buffer zone along the border to create more security for the Rwandan government.
So the question here isn't so much Rwanda's involvement or their support of the M23 rebels, but rather, are those rebels backed militarily by Rwanda with boots on the ground? Here's the assessment on that from the UN.
Well, I think there's no question that there are Rwandan troops in Goma supporting the M23. Of course, it's difficult to tell exactly what the numbers are. You've seen some estimates, or if they're very significant, 3,000, 4,000.
And Congo's foreign minister described the Rwandan-backed offensive as a declaration of war that no longer hides itself behind diplomatic manoeuvres. On the surface, that seems a reasonable statement. Are we there at that point now?
Well, we very well could be. I think the difference is that the Rwandan government continues to deny any official involvement in this conflict and deny any official support to the M23 rebels. And so if it were to be determined that the Rwandan armed forces were actually engaged on the ground in a fighting capacity, that would, I think, change the nature of this conflict. It would make it not just instability in Eastern Congo, but it would make an interstate conflict in Central Africa, which I think would engage the international community in a way that it hasn't been before.
Just quickly, an op-ed which appeared in the Financial Times Monday argued that because of Rwanda's economic dependency on foreign aid as well as income from international tourism, essentially the West has a lot of leverage here to force Rwanda to back down or moderate its behaviour in some way. But there just isn't a will to do so, and it goes on to argue that basically Rwanda gets a free pass. Is that true, and if so, why?
Well, Rwanda has emerged as a very capable partner of the West. President Kagame, the Rwandan president, you'll find him in Davos. You'll find him at the Munich Security Conference. He has learned very well how to engage Western donor countries, build their confidence. Just last year, the UK government had signed a deal with Rwanda to send back African migrants from the UK back to Rwanda. So he has been, I think, a bit of a darling of the West, gaining the confidence of the West as a very capable and technocratic leader. And I think they have given him a wide berth to pursue these security aims, also related to the fact that the Tutsis of Rwanda, his tribe, suffered as many as 1 million deaths in 100 days during the Rwandan genocide. And there's still an enormous amount of kind of guilt within the international community that we did not come to the rescue of those Rwandan civilians 30 years ago.
Cameron, thank you for the analysis and the background. It's really valuable to understand what's actually happening and why. And thank you for being with us.
Thank you.